Chapter 6. Your Values and the Full Life. Quote, "We all have two lives. We live our second life when we realize we only have one." End quote. Confucius. In the previous chapters, you've worked to figure out what's important to you. In this chapter, the first in the creation section, we'll take all the information about yourself that you've accumulated to decide what kind of life you want to live. To begin with, you will identify your values, and for this, we will return to the model from the first chapter, the Wheel of Life. Your goal now is to design a life that has meaning. We had said that success has two faces, the internal and the external. Internal success is more important at the end of your life, but that's not to say that external success has no value. As we saw in the introductory chapter, your definition of success can change depending on your circumstances. This evolution matters and is not being fixed in a single definition of success. After all, life is fluid and adapts to the circumstances you are in. So, as I told you earlier, having a clear purpose is best, but be flexible with your plans. First, you must identify your values, i.e., what's important to you. They're the reason you get things done. There are also your goals and what you want to achieve. And between your values and goals are the decisions you make. Those values shape these decisions and are driven by the goals you want to achieve. So let's get started with values. Values are ethical, moral, or social principles that you consider important and that guide your behavior and decision-making. They are a fundamental part of your identity and can be influenced by your country's culture and religion, as well as your upbringing and life experiences. Values include honesty, tolerance, justice, respect, solidarity, and responsibility. Values are important because they define your perception of right or wrong, fair or unfair, ethical or unethical. They are the principles that guide you in your decisions and actions. They influence the way you treat others and yourself. The right values also help you to improve your relationships with others, foster trust and cooperation, and promote an environment of mutual respect and harmony. Values can also positively affect your mental and physical health, allowing you to live an authentic and meaningful life. To find out your values, I suggest we use the Wheel of Life again, where you'll identify 8 areas, as seen on the chart on page 34 of the PDF workbook. These 8 areas that appear on the Wheel of Life will guide you in identifying your values. For example, in health, ask yourself why health is important to you. Maybe it's to live longer and better years, or to have enough energy to do things that matter to you, like your job or being with your family. How you answer this question indicates what it is that you value. Please take a few minutes to complete the chart on page 35 of the PDF workbook. The 8 areas in the first column appear on the Wheel of Life. In the second, answer the question, why do you care? Reflection 11, your values. Wheel of Life, why do you care? The items include health, personal growth, hobbies, spiritual, relations, society, work, and finance. On page 36 of the PDF workbook, one of the participants in my class wrote the following values. Wheel of Life, why do you care? Health, vitality, personal growth, wisdom, hobbies, creativity, spiritual, harmony, relations, connection, society, service, work, contribution, finance, tranquility. Obviously, some values are more important than others, and as I mentioned earlier, that importance can vary depending on where you are in your life. We saw in Chapter 1 that there are 3 main stages in life: learning, providing, and retiring. These correspond to your preparation for entering society, study, entering the world of work and possibly starting a family, providing, and then at the end of your working life, you enter the retirement stage. Your list of values and priorities can change according to the stage of life you are in. For this reason, it is advisable to rank values to identify which ones are the most important to you, in case there is a conflict between them. One method of making this ranking is to choose between pairs of values. For example, if we have to choose between health and personal growth, which one takes priority for you? In my case, it would be health, and I would give it a point. and we repeat the process. Health or hobbies. In that case, I would also choose health, another point. If you do this exercise with all aspects of your life, you'll have a chart like the one on page 37 of the PDF workbook. As you can see in the rankings, the most important areas for me are relationships, health, and occupation. This exercise will allow you to focus your goals and actions on what matters most to you in your life. Now you can continue to define your goals and actions in each area of the wheel of life. To help with this, 2 new columns with your values and corresponding objectives and actions can be added to the table. See page 38 of the PDF workbook for an example of my goals. Reflection 12. Objectives and actions. Now it's your turn. On page 39 of the PDF workbook, add the values that you wrote in Reflection 11 on your values and fill in the columns with your goals and actions. Your possible lives. Now you will do something very special. Imagine your possible lives. You may ask, why lives and not life? Do I only have one life? Indeed, we usually think of a single life, but in this case, we are confusing the past with the future. You can't change your past life, but can you change your future life? If you can change it, your future life doesn't have to be a projection of your past life. In addition to the fact that many things can happen to you that change your life trajectory, you can also change it with your decisions. I'm not saying this is easy, but it is possible. When you are clear about what you want and determined to achieve it, you make the decisions that take you in that direction. And that direction is the purpose you set for yourself. Your purpose is very important, but we will talk about it more in another chapter. Now I'm going to ask you to do an exercise in imagination, where you're going to imagine 3 future versions of yourself. Life number 1. What would your life look like in 5 years if it continued along without any major changes? Answer this question in the box on page 40 of the PDF workbook, in the 3 sections that correspond to the house of the full life: you, the others, and occupation. When you answer, describe how you see yourself in 5 years, and how you would feel if that were your real life. Write in the present tense, as if you are already 5 years in the future. Reflection 13. Life without change. You. What do you do and how do you feel? Others. What do you do and how do you feel? Occupation. What do you do and how do you feel? Now rate that life from 1 to 5 on the following criteria. I like this life, I can achieve it, and it agrees with my values. In my case, my life would be very different from how it is today. At age 35, I was the CFO of a multinational company in the tourism sector. I owned a house by the sea, drove a BMW, and had an excellent salary. By external criteria, I had succeeded, yet I decided to change my life. If I had continued that life, I might have bought a bigger house, had a family, and still had a good salary. But it wasn't a life consistent with my values. I've always been an insatiable reader. I wanted to continue studying, writing, and sharing my knowledge with other people. That's how my second life began. I followed my passion. That's what you're going to see in the next reflection. Life number 2. What would your life look like in 5 years if you followed your passion? Answer the question in the box on page 41 of the PDF workbook like you did the first time, but now change it to a life where you realize your passion. Remember what you wrote in your Ikigai. Use the present tense as if you are already in the future. Reflection 14. Follow your passion. You. What do you do and how do you feel? Others. What do you do and how do you feel? Occupation. What do you do and how do you feel? Now rate that life from 1 to 5 on the following criteria. I like this life. I can achieve it. It agrees with my values. Continuing with my personal story, I decided to quit my job as an executive and do a PhD in economics and business management. I went back to college for 5 years. During that time, I lived off my savings. Upon completing my PhD, I was offered, and accepted, a teaching position at a new business school in Shanghai, China, called China Europe International Business School, www.ceibs.edu. I've spent 25 years working as a professor, 23 of them at CEIBS. In addition, along the way, I met the person who is now my wife, and together we created a family with 3 children. A very different life from the one that I would have had if I hadn't followed my passion. Of course, I understand it's hard to make decisions like I did. Everyone must look at what suits them best. But I want you to understand that change is possible, and it's up to you to make it happen. Maybe the first life, continuing to do what you're doing now, is the one that fulfills you, and that's okay. But maybe it's not the life you want, and you are considering a change. In an interview, Steve Jobs said that he would look in the mirror every morning and ask himself, "Is this what I want to do today?" Jobs also said that if the answer was no 5 days in a row, he knew he needed to make a change. Try it yourself. Look in the mirror and ask yourself, "Is this what I want to do with my life?" We're now going to look at a third life. Perhaps we could imagine more lives than this, but 3 is a good number to start with. Life number 3. Puerto Rican singer Ricky Martin composed a song in 1999 called La Vida Loca, The Crazy Life. Here are some of its lyrics. Viva la vida loca, and I am telling you, live the crazy life, give flavor to your life. Viva la vida loca, come follow me, dance the crazy life. Your destiny is in your heart. Well, this is what I propose to you in your third life, that is, your crazy life. Answer the following question. What would your life be like in 5 years if you were given $100 million today? In this case, there are no financial worries, fear of failure, or doubts. What would you do with your life? You might think going to an island in the Pacific and living off the money. However, after a while, you might get bored of that life. I assume you have a purpose. It's up to you. Reflection 15, The Crazy Life. Go to page 43 of the PDF workbook and answer the following questions. You. What do you do and how do you feel? Others. What do you do and how do you feel? Occupation. What do you do and how do you feel? Now rate that life from 1 to 5 on the following criteria. I like this life. I can achieve it. It agrees with my values. In my case, I've always had the dream of dedicating myself to traveling the world and photography. It's not that I regret my activity as a professor. In fact, I still teach after retirement. But I was always attracted to adventure, nature, and art, and all of that can be achieved with photography. I'm now retired and have a comfortable financial situation, which has allowed me to develop that interest. During the creation of this book, I was able to visit 2 countries, New Zealand and Guatemala. I've taken photographs of their landscapes, wildlife, and inhabitants. In addition, I have already published 2 photography books that are available on Amazon. My goal is to publish 10 books. You'll find an Amazon link to the 2 books on page 44 of the PDF workbook. The Art of Seeing, 2-book series, Kindle edition, Amazon.com. As you can see, my path, which doesn't have to be your path, has been progressive and discovery. In a way, I've had 3 lives. The first is as an executive of a multinational company. The second is as a university professor. And the third is as a traveler and photographer. The 3 lives are in me and coexist. Now it's up to you to decide what your full life is. You can look at the 3 lives you've created in this exercise and reflect on what you want to do. To help with this, I propose a visualization exercise. Go to a quiet place in your house and close the door so no one interrupts you. Assume a relaxed position. If you want, put on some soft, soothing music. Close your eyes and imagine walking along the edge of a lake. You approach a cabin that is by the lake. You arrive at the cabin, open the door, and find someone inside. That person seems very happy and satisfied with their life. They are older than you. Life is smiling at him or her. Then you realize that you are with yourself in the future. And you ask yourself, are you satisfied with your life? Your future self tells you, yes, very much so. And you ask, tell me why. Listen to your future self. When you're done, open your eyes and write down what your future self told you. That is your full life. Remember to write it in the present tense, as if you were talking to your future self on the same day. Reflection 16. Your future life. On page 45 of the PDF workbook, ask yourself the following questions. You. What do you do and how do you feel? Others. What do you do and how do you feel? Occupation. What do you do and how do you feel? Now rate that life from 1 to 5 on the following criteria. I like this life. I can achieve it. It agrees with my values. Congratulations! You already have in front of you the life you aspire to. The important thing is that you already know something that you may not have known before. You now have a direction. Remember the story of the rabbit in Alice in Wonderland? At a crossroads, Alice asked the rabbit, "Which way should I choose?" And since she did not know her destination, the rabbit told her, "Any way will do for you." Now you have a destiny, that of your full life. This will help you make decisions when you must decide between different alternatives. Now, you're going to create a representation of your full life, known as your life board. Here's how it's done. Life board. The board is based on what you've written about your full life. It's a graphic representation of how you see it. On pages 45 through 48 of the PDF workbook is an example of the board created by one of the participants of my course in China. The board has 3 sections: how I see myself, how I see the world, and how I see humanity. You'll see photos and text. You don't necessarily have to follow this example. You just need to create the board according to the full life you desire. For example, in the board on those pages, the participant only used photos from magazines. It's a visual board with almost no text. The example on page 48 of the PDF workbook, the author combines photos and text. You should choose the type of poster that best describes your full life. I suggest to my participants that they cover the 3 aspects that make up the full life: about yourself, about your relationship with others, and about your professional activity and in society. You can choose how to represent your full life as you see fit. The important thing is that when you look at your life board, you remember what you want out of your life. I suggest placing your life board in your bedroom, office, or any other place you deem appropriate. You can also review the board occasionally so that it evolves with you. What do you need to make a life board? The required materials are very simple and easy to get a hold of. In principle, you need a large sheet of paper, A3 minimum. The sheet can be white or colored, whichever you prefer. Also scissors and markers of different colors. You also need glue to put the photos on the board. Finally, you must get some magazines with plenty of photos. The idea is to cut out photos that match the full life you want and add a word that reminds you of what the pictures mean. You can make your life board alone, share the exercise with a group, and even make a family version. It would be, in that case, a family board. You can even find digital life boards on the following website: www.pinterest.com/melissadormoy/vision-boards/. The link is also on page 48 of the PDF workbook. With this chapter, we have concluded the second stage of our journey, that of creation. Now it's time to make it a reality. It's time for action. In the next section, we will talk about decision-making and how to make successful change to achieve the full life you want. Extra resource. Another way to clarify your values is to use the questionnaire offered by the VIA Institute of Character. It's free, but you do need to pay if you want a more detailed report. The questionnaire includes 6 groups of values. It's another way of identifying what's important to you. In my case, you can see the result on page 49 and 50 of the PDF workbook. I encourage you to take this quiz that will help you get yourself better. This questionnaire is one of the initiatives of Dr. Martin Seligman's team, who proposes the following questions related to the questionnaire. In what areas am I using my values? How and when can I use my values more often? Am I using my values in my work life, but not in other areas, such as family? How can I use my values in different areas?